we're going to be pro competition here. And if I do give some legal advice, it is not legal advice in the sense that I represent you as an attorney. Of course, this is for educational purposes only. I think I went through in rapid speed our disclaimers. And Eric, tell me a little bit about yourself, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Erin. Yeah, my name is Eric Jaiven, and I actually am the Vice President of Broker Operations at the Signature Real Estate Companies, which means I handle a lot of the pre-legal issues and disputes and conflicts and whatnot. But one of the other hats I wear is I actually teach a YouTube social media farm area class every month for the agents at our brokerage, and we have close to 1,000 agents. So, and it's something I've been doing. I've actually tweaked class over the years, depending on who the audience is, but it's something I've been teaching probably for 11 years or something like that. So, it's varied greatly. So, but I really look forward to talking to all of you guys. And the format I usually use, and everybody, it's up to them. They can actually unmute, ask questions as we go along. I do less of like shared screen visuals, as I like to sort of have a conversation with people to see what they're doing, what their thoughts are. Because usually when people attend this class, they're kind of interested in something like this. They just usually don't know what to do, or there's usually one step that's kind of a hiccup. So I like to sort of have it be interactive. So, but if everyone wants to stay as a black box and muted, it's okay too. I will preach as well. So
sounds good.
Oh, and by the way, if people don't already know, I'm Kristen King Jaiven's husband. Your partner in crime in the Get Closed, Get Paid. So
yeah. Cool. Thank you. And thank you for joining us again. This is a topic that is outside of Kristen and my field completely. So I will start with just a very simple question. If I was to just sort of dip my toe into video content, where would you start? How do we even wrap my brain around diving into this world?
That's a great question, actually. So I'm glad you asked it, because one of the things I wasn't going to spend a lot of time on that I do spend when I teach it for the brokerage is creating the sort of the building block, the foundation, the basement of where you want to start, and that's farm area. And I didn't really want to make this class too much about farm area, but a lot of the tips and strategies I ask the agents to take when it comes to making video is to create some sort of base. For most people, it's going to be their farm area. And so since when I teach this for my brokerage, I now usually do it during our training week. I now have sort of dumbed down the very beginning of the class to talk about, to make sure everyone knows what a farm area is and how to properly sort of have a farm area radius. Because a lot of people, they end up failing because they have too big of an area, and it's the proverbial spaghetti against the wall, see what sticks. You need to sort of be surgical about creating content. And so that is the number one thing is creating good content. The best content is video, and having a direct area in which you're going to have your content be made about. So that's sort of the foundations. And then from there, it's just actually getting out and doing hard work.
Okay, thank you. So when you're talking about video content for your farm area, are you talking about specifically targeting properties or developments or homes or places where you want to list, or places that you've already listed? So what are we talking about here?
So during my class, I usually talk about the two general buckets of video content, and one is specific to the actual real estate, the inventory, listings, whatnot. The other one is actually what makes I'm going to keep saying farm area. For someone else, there may be a specific niche or a sphere of influence or whatnot that they want to focus on. But for the purposes of this, for this training session, I'm going to say farm area. You're also going to want to highlight what makes your farm area attractive and why people move there and why people would want to move there and why people live there. And there's a lot of different dynamics about that, which is why your farm area shouldn't actually be so broad, because you basically need to be the knower of all things of your farm area, including what is available for real estate, what's the inventory. And again, I'll talk about this a little more in depth, but you need to know the parks, the schools, your city commissioners, I mean, everything. And so that's why your farm area cannot be, Broward County, because there's no way one person can know all things for that county. By the way, and also there are what I like to call little side missions for those like to play video games. Those are the two main buckets, but there's actually specific seller or buyer campaigns that you can also make. Usually it's still dedicated within your farm area, but you can make certain seller or buyer campaigns that make your farm area even more attractive, and you can make you more attractive to specific customers.
All right, so I will, that's enough with my questions for now. I'm going to let you get into it, and then I will probably keep up if everyone on the Zoom doesn't have any questions. I will.
So I'm going to preface this by saying I only touch upon a couple of legal issues, and I may even ding you to kind of join in on those couple of things, but it's very, very, very little because I want to make sure everybody's compliant. And so I'm going to start out I don't usually start, only because this is sort of a legal forum. I'm gonna start out by saying something I usually don't start the presentation with. So I'm going to be talking a lot about content. And so one of the issues with content is intellectual property rights. And so one of the things that I will talk about later, but that everybody really, really, really needs to know up front, is you can never take other people's content. While you may be allowed to share through an IDX MLS feed information for a listing, and that information may contain pictures or links to videos and descriptions and whatnot, you can never copy and paste that information separately for you to post. I mean, Erin may know this better. I know my wife certainly knows this better. There's, I think, a $10,000 per infraction for photo violations per photo. So and everybody up front needs to know this is by the way a reason to make, this is just an additional reason to make your own content, because if you take somebody else's content, you can be on the hook for huge penalties. And so I don't want anyone here thinking, oh, it's okay to take someone's video, photos, even the descriptions that they use for their properties. Don't take anyone's intellectual property, because I'm going to give you a little scary newsflash. There's like scrub bots out there that photographers or agents or brokerages or whomever own the intellectual property, they use to scrub the internet, and they will find you. And so we've gotten nabbed, our agents, and also don't assume, this is something that's really scary. Don't assume that you can just ask somebody to use like the photos or video and that it's okay, because you don't know if they own those property rights. So that intellectual property. And we've also gotten nabbed on that. We have gotten, we have an agent that actually had permission from a community who had, photos and videos done on their behalf. They got permission to use it. What a lot of agents and a lot of people don't know is they don't know that when you sign to get photos or videos done, the small print, very often they only own the rights maybe for 6 months. They may not own the rights to actually reuse them other than that one purpose. Mm-hmm. And so what ends up happening is that community or even that owner or the agent thinks, well, I bought these photos, so I have the rights to do whatever I want with them. No, actually not necessarily. You need to check the small print, because people have gotten sued with thumbs up. You can use these photos. And then photographers are the ones that use these scrubbing bots, and they scrub the internet, and they will find the pictures that because they put all their pictures in a database software that then if those pictures show up anywhere, they get dinged, and then they come after you for $10,000 a pop. So
so we're going to create our own content. We're not recycling content. We're going to create our own videos, create our own photos. Okay.
Correct. I usually talk about that in the middle of the class, but since this is sort of you guys have kind of do a lot of legal forums, I'm gonna start with that. So, and this is yet another reason why you want to create your own content. But I'm going to spend just a couple of minutes on the farm area. Just know what a farm area is, and sometimes it's not to be confused with what.
Okay. I might have lost him. Let me see.
And so most people understand that, but they don't necessarily understand. Excuse me?
You were frozen for a second on my computer. I don't know if it was on my end. So you started to say you were going to describe what a farm area is, and then I didn't hear you for a good 30 seconds or so. So
that was me actually. I just had a warning about my Am I? Can you hear me now?
I can. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. I just got a little warning that said my internet was unstable and then it popped on and then popped off. So that's probably what it was.
Okay.
So most people know what a farm area is, but just for those of you sometimes who confuse farm area and what I like to call service area is just where you're willing to do real estate. I live in the middle of Broward County, so I may be willing to do real estate in the Tri-County area, but that's not your farm area. Your farm area is where you're willing to dedicate your blood, sweat, tears, money, energy, time, resources to prospect for customers. And so that should be a much narrower scope than what your service area is. And for those who haven't really established a farm area, I like to just have a couple litmus tests. If, for example, if you did an every door direct mailer to try to get sellers, where would you send out that the zip +4? Like where would you send that out to? If you're gonna, I know nobody wants to knock on doors anymore, but if you're gonna knock on doors or make calling campaigns, where would you do that for? And so you're better off starting smaller and then working out bigger and getting smaller, because otherwise it's just very inefficient. The other reason why you want to have a compact farm area, and this is where it starts getting into the sort of content area, is there's nothing I can do, there's nothing I can say to where you're going to say, okay, I'm going to create this content and I'm going to show up #1 when people are looking up real estate searches in Boca Raton. Trust me, our brokers tried to sort of reverse engineer that, and it would be 100,000 man hours and probably $1 million to get to be #1 or even on the first page. It's just there's been too much hours and time in SEO done so that you're just not going to come up for a county or even probably a city anywhere in South Florida. I know you guys, I don't know if you're all in South Florida. I know Rosemead, for example, is in Central Florida, and it doesn't matter whatever area you are, whether it be Orlando, Tampa. There's no reverse engineering that I could be wrong. None of you probably have enough money to show up for Miami real estate #1 in Google. So, because if you did, you probably wouldn't be on this class. So, but the reality, that's another reason why you want to start out smaller than bigger. Neighborhoods, communities, things like that. And you want to be the sort of the oracles. You want to be the knower of all things, the beacons within those farm areas. And that means knowing everything. Who are the principals of the elementary school, middle school, high schools? Who's on your HOA board? Who's in your civic? Do you know the people on your civic association? Do you know your city council people? For your district, possibly even your mayor. Do you know you go 6 blocks away, they shop at a different Publix. What are what's the popular pizza place, the Chinese place? What are the cultural centers, the museums? What is the beach that people go to? You have to know everything about it, and that's when we start thinking I have to know all these things. And obviously, the most obvious one, you have to know all the listings and be personally familiar. You have to have visited every single listing in your farm area. Then you can be a knower of all things. If you can do all of those things, in a slightly bigger area, then good on you. That means you're taking the time out. And you get two people that could be next door neighbors and they won't have the same farm area because one's dedicating 5 hours a week to it, and one's dedicating 45 hours a week to it. And so a lot of it's also is going to come around to how much time, energy, and resources you're going to dedicate to this. So that's why it's really important to have a foundation. And again, I'm going to use farm area as because that's the most common example. There are people that have very, very specific niches. You know, they're travel nurses, or they're doctors, or they're pilots, or flight attendants, and that's that. And you could still dedicate everything I'm telling you to that niche. But since those aren't as common, I'm going to use farm area as the most common one. But everything can be dedicated to a specific niche as well. So once you've sort of established what your farm area is, and you really have that, you really have an understanding of what your farm area is and what your farm area isn't, then you can start making content. Because this is where I like to sometimes make this interactive. And so, Erin, you're not on mute. If other people want to unmute this, they're welcome to try to answer these questions. Does anyone know what percentage of buyers start their search online?
100.
Okay. So there's always some of this is 100. Like I always say, nothing in life is 100%, right? But it's actually a good, but that's actually a really good guess, because it is. I've seen the stat, and it's somewhere. I've seen it two different ways. I've seen it one where it said 98 and one that said about 99. So it's right around 98, 99%. So it's really important for people who are going to try to capture. The reality is the days of just people walking into a real estate office saying, I don't know anything, I don't know anyone, somebody please help me, is very, very rare. And 20 years ago, that was not the case. It was pretty common. 30 years ago, that was the norm. Pre-internet, that's what people did. Obviously, there's always been a referral, and I'm using my relative or my neighbor's agent, but there was no internet. There was no online for the 98 to 99% to even look at it. And by the way, what's crazy about the 98 to 99% stat is that's true even for people who know, I'm going to probably use my cousin, or I'm going to probably use my neighbor's agent. They still go online to check, even though they're in their mind, they're 95% sure they're going to use a certain agent. They still start their search online. And so that should tell you that is an opportunity for you to actually get in front of people who are interested in your farm area. Now, one thing that's really important, because I'm about to start talking about content and online presence, I don't want anyone to think that they can hide behind a computer. This is really, when I first started teaching this class, I used to talk about these cool apps and these cool softwares and this, and I was on these like mailer lists. This was like 10, 11 years ago. When these things are all brand new, and software editing, and all these different kind of cool apps for real estate, all of them are brand new. That's not what this class is about, because I realized that was sort of counterproductive, because we also teach traditional prospecting classes. And I realized, at the end of the day, traditional prospecting is the way to go. But what you can do is you can use this as a way to elevate it, to make leverage out of traditional prospecting and make it work twice as hard for you. So so the bad news is I'm not going to talk about anything where you can just hide behind a computer. The good news is I know that while not everybody loves traditional prospecting, you can make it work for you 3 times over, not just 1 time over. And so you can basically, it's having an online presence basically makes your traditional prospecting on steroids. So what are some of the things that people talk about traditional prospecting? What are some of the, anyone have any thoughts? Networking, right? When a broker's opens, going to happy hours, having fun things, sphere of influence, talking to, getting out there in the community, getting out there, being known, and all that stuff. So, but when you do that and you're not leveraging an online presence, you do it once and it's dead. You hope that you made some connection, but if you didn't at that very moment, it's dead. All that time and energy you spent out there you fingers crossed that one person you spoke with maybe one day gets back to you or talks to someone else and gives someone else their card. But that's it. Then the connection ends unless you continuously stay on top of that person, which you should. But let's be real, when we go out there and we're talking to 20 people at a happy hour, like, we're not staying on top of it. Like, we probably should, but we're not. And so, but here's a way where you actually can, because what you're going to do is you're going to create online content. Now, the old saying is a picture is worth 1,000 words. The new saying is a video is worth 1,000 pictures. And so I'm not going to spend too much time on the history of video content, which I usually spend about 10 minutes on. And it's on purpose so that I like to beat the dead horse so that people understand, that people a lot smarter than me understand that content is the most important form. Video is the most important form of content by far. I like to rate it by the top three forms of content: video, video, video. Then you get to, whether it be your podcast or your just websites and pictures and whatnot. All that other stuff is important, but video content is so important, and a lot of people don't realize it. And then when I actually kind of give them a little background, and they're like, oh, it kind of makes sense. So everyone knows. Trivia question: does anyone know? I see. I think it's gonna be more interactive between Erin and I. A couple of trivia questions. Does anyone know what the largest search engine in the world is?
The largest what in the world?
Search engine in the world is.
The Google.
Yes, it was not a trick question. Google, and it's by a country mile. This is where it gets a little bit. Trickier. Does anyone know what the second largest search engine in the world is?
YouTube?
Carmen, out of left field with the home run.
Hey, Carmen. Is that right? YouTube, really?
That is right. And so I need you guys to put this in perspective. It's larger than Bing, Yahoo, any other search engine in the world. And and YouTube only searches videos, and only searches videos that it hosts itself online.
Oh.
That's it. And it's the second largest search engine in the world. That should be mind-blowing. But trivia question number 3. Who owns YouTube?
Isn't it owned by Google?
Carmen, again, winner, chicken dinner. So the largest search engine in the world owns the second largest search engine in the world. And some people say, oh, well, that makes sense. And you go on Google and you get the little video tab, and those video tabs are always YouTube videos. See, here's the thing, guys. YouTube didn't get big because Google bought it.
Yeah, they were already big.
Google. I mean, I still have an AOL account login for YouTube, because before Google ever bought it, I also have a Gmail login for it as well. What happened was, so Google, as you guys may or may not know, I try not to get too much into SEO, and but you guys heard of search engine optimization, and so what happens is every so often Google creates new algorithms for the search engine optimization, for the search parameters. And so this is starting from like 15 years ago, 12 years ago, so on and so forth. They understood that video had such a dynamic that no other content did, that they spent billions of dollars. But before they bought YouTube, they kept raising the importance of video. Like, they kept raising it with each, and they always had these cute names like Penguin and all these like silly like search engine, like every iteration of their search engine algorithm has some like cutesy name. And with every iteration, they kept elevating video and video and video, because they understood that it had these very amazing phenomena. And so to the point where they were like, let's just spend a few $billion and buy the company that we keep optimizing. And so that's why they buy. It wasn't the other way around. And so think of So Bill Gates is a lot smarter than me. Think of Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg, if you look at people's Facebook accounts that have Facebook accounts from 2007, there's all it is a happy birthday, like a random comment, or eventually get to the point where you start seeing photos. But he understood very quickly that video was the future. And so what he did is, if you notice on Facebook, video is the only content that embeds external content that embeds. Because photos, you can upload photos into Facebook and then they'll embed. But if you try to link a photo from, like, say, Shutterstock externally, it takes you to the external page. If you click on Wall Street Journal link, it doesn't embed the Wall Street Journal article and you can flip inside. It doesn't create a flip book. It takes you to that link. It may be within the Facebook parameter, but it takes you to that website. It does not take you to the YouTube website. It automatically embeds that video into the social media. And so that's not by accident. That's by intent. He understands that the amount of work that it would take to embed the other stuff it's worthless. It doesn't matter, because video is the king of all content. And so notice that not only did he embed video, he started auto playing it when you scroll, just on mute. Does Mark Zuckerberg think you are incapable of hitting the play button? No. He understands that we, like moths to a flame, your eyes cannot stop but watch the moving pictures. And so, gotcha, and then you just, think about when he created Facebook Live. He didn't do that for your benefit. He did that so you, at the touch of a button, have a mobile studio in your pocket. Up until Facebook Live, it would have taken a backpack full of equipment, mobile hotspots, mics, all this stuff, a couple $1,000s worth of equipment, and you probably would have needed someone else to do it. 10 years before that, you would have needed a studio to do what you can do with just a button. And so these people don't care about, I want to give you a new gadget. All they care about is two things: getting eyeballs and keeping eyeballs. That's it. And so they go to the extent of spending billions of dollars so that they can do that, because they do that via video. So don't take this just from me, take it from people a lot smarter than me. They create an environment in which it makes it so that you can easily manipulate video as the best content. So hopefully now you guys have understood, okay, I have a farm area and I'm going to create content for that farm area. Eric, you convinced me that sounds good. But what type of content am I going to create? What am I going to do with that content? So I kind of alluded to it slightly earlier. The two main forms of content. Again, I'll get to this, maybe some side campaigns after I talk about the main content. You're going to create two forms. Like I said, the two buckets. You're going to create content, video content for what I like to consider general farm area content, and one is the real estate specific content. Now, if you want to make videos, I know we always get emails from the boards, NAR and the local boards and FAR, about, it's the best time to plant your, whatever, your sage, bush or whatever, and that's fine. Like, that's, I like to call that filler content. You don't have to even make video about that, and you can put all the content you want. I'm not telling you to not have video content. Other forms of content are great, and filler is great, because the one thing I always tell our agents is, I won't ask for a lot of your money expenditure, but this is time, energy, and this is, time may be your most valuable resource. This will take some time. It doesn't take necessarily a lot of money. You can use the phone in your pocket. You don't need, these are all high def cameras now. You don't need to hire a professional. I mean, let me just backtrack. If you have your own listing and don't have video for it, you should be shot. You really, Because not only are you doing yourself a disservice, you're doing your customer a disservice. And so you already have the opportunity, you're already having photography go there. It's usually just a slight upgrade, upcharge, and you have videography. And so I'll get into why you're doing yourself a disservice in a minute. It's obvious why you're doing your customer a disservice, but you're also shooting yourself in the foot if you don't get videography for your own listings. That should be done at a professional level. I don't even really talk about that. To me, that's the minimum status quo. You get a listing, you got professional photography and videography. So getting back to the content. So for content that's not your listings, you're making the two styles of content: general farm area and specific real estate. I'm going to start with the general farm area, because this, guys, this is actually really important, because this is going to be also a lot, it's going to go hand in hand with the traditional prospecting I was telling you about. So in order for you to truly be the oracles of your farm areas, which is really, really important, guys, because here's the thing: there's a lot of us, because I'm an agent as well. A lot of us, sometimes we get a little complacent and think we can rely on MLS information as our value add. And the reality is, I already explained, 98% of people start their search online. So we've already given away the MLS information. They already have it. So when we say, oh, I can put you on a search with MLS listings and the information, attached there too, that's not information that they don't already have. I mean, we're getting to the point where now our customers are sometimes sending us the listings. I've sold houses that I literally never went on MLS to search, not one time, for, because customers were like, here's the only 10 things that fit my criteria in this entire county. I want to see them. Okay, cool. So we can't rely on our access to MLS as a value add. That's long gone, and we could have a debate as to whether we should have sold ourselves down the river or not, but it's irrelevant. It is what it is. But you have an opportunity to sort of arbitrage what a lot of other agents are not doing, and that's creating an online presence where you guys are the MLS on steroids, because you have that. That's the benefit, is now you have it as your baseline. Now everything that you add is just gravy. It makes you look like you know more than everybody else. And remember, the internet is the great equalizer. It only cares about content. It doesn't care whether you've done one transaction or 1,000 transactions. So this is when I mentioned the word arbitrage. This is an opportunity, because a lot of agents that are closer to the 1,000 or even say 100 transactions aren't doing this. So this is especially important for the agents that aren't as experienced, because I always get the question, how do I compete with the people who are experienced? Well, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
And if you are experienced and you have a farm area, this is going to be so much easier for you, because you already know a lot of the people, the areas, the amenities in your community. You already know a lot of this stuff, so you know what to take video of. So it's actually easier for the experienced people, but it's probably more important for the lesser experienced people, because this is how they're going to compete with the people who are experienced. Because I don't care how much experience you have, if you don't have an online presence, that person that has never done a transaction in your community is going to show up before you do. And so this is how. And if you're experienced and you don't want that to happen, you don't want those young guns to come in and sort of try to take you off the mountain, this is what you're going to do. And so you're going to create an online presence through content. And so, like I said, you're going to start with the general farm area stuff. So I mentioned earlier, I did some foreshadowing earlier about, the happy hours and knowing what, I'm talking about getting granular, because when people are interested in, like, I live in a neighborhood called Tarpon River. Erin, I think, is about to move into, I don't know what the name of that community is, or that particular, I know it's in, I think, Tequesta. But I don't know, I just saw an address. So I don't know specifically, what area. And so you need to actually get to the point where you know everything. So if you were a potential buyer, why would I move there? Where would I go grocery shopping? Is there obviously there's Publix everywhere. Is there also a Whole Foods, Trader Joe's? Is there also, you know, a Fresh Market? What parks do they have? Is it just little neighborhood pocket parks? Or is it, am I next to like a county park, a city park? Are they, I mean, I don't know about you guys, by me, like they just created a bond to basically improve every single park or in the entire city where I live. And so these are things that people don't know. So while the park next to me is nice, it's about to get really nice. And so having a conversation with someone from Parks and Rec. Now you might say, well, what am I going to do with the conversation? You're going to videotape it. So you're not going to just see the traditional prospecting would have you just have a conversation with Parks and Rec, so he can give you sort of some schematics of plans of what they're going to be doing in the future of the parks, right? And then maybe you can try to post those plans, or maybe not, or maybe when you run across people that are family. Oh, geez, this is a great area. Not, I know, I don't violate anything. I say because the reality is schools near them and things like that. And again,
Eric, I think we're a little unstable again. You're frozen. Give me 1 second.
Matter, whatever makes your farm.
Eric, I think we're frozen on your end. You know, we've got some pretty bad weather here, so maybe I'm the frozen one. 1 quick second. I can hear you. Oh, I can see you now. Yes. Hi. Hello.
Okay.
Welcome back.
Okay.
Yeah, we were stuck for just a little bit. Okay, so you were giving the example of we're working with someone's Parks and Rec and having a conversation with them, but also videotaping that conversation instead of just taking that information and reposting it.
Exactly. So you're going to ask them, like, you know, so first off, you can have one video of like, hey, Mr. Parks and Rec, like, you know, you'd be the person who runs Parks and Rec and be like, what is it that makes this particular area so great? And then, of course, they're going to say something. And then if there is, for example, any projects to improve or whatever, like any of the parks in the area, you can maybe make another video about, oh yeah, this particular park's going to be, you know, they're going to spend $2 million completely gutting it, and it's going to be this beautiful thing with new playgrounds and new stuff like that. And so that's just one example. Parks and Rec is just one example. I mean, there are so many different projects that are always going on in every municipality that we usually don't know about, which is really important. Why you should know, again, who your city commissioner is, who runs your civic association, who's on your board if you're on a condo association or homeowners association. You should not only know those people, you should talk to those people, film those people, and actually have them put on video what it is that makes their, and then insert whatever they do. So if it's HOA, what makes that particular community great? If it's civic association, what makes that specific civic association? If it's the city council person, what makes that particular district amazing? And so, you know, and by the way, I know this sounds crazy, but these people love, I mean, I can't necessarily speak about a homeowner, I mean, a homeowner association, but certainly like civic associations, your council people, your mayor, they love nothing but to be interviewed. Like I can promise you, you go to an event that they're at, because they're at events all the time. All they want is to be seen and be heard. And I promise you that they will make videos, and especially if it's talking about how awesome they are and their area is, I can promise you that's not going to be a problem. And so, but you're going to take that even further, okay? Because first of all, now you're actually networking. Now you actually know the president of your association, the president of your civic association, your rep, your rep. But I mean, this could also be, you know, for the state House of Representatives. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know my state House rep, but I know my council person. I know my council person. I know my last council person. I know the mayor. I know the president of my civic association. And I don't even try to do this because I have a full-time job. So I don't have actually time to really, I wish I had time to dedicate to do everything I said. But I network with all these people. If I said, hey, let's take a quick video, every one of them would say yes. But it's not just that. It's your traditional prospecting. So what I always use the example of like, what's the most popular pizzeria, or the most popular Chinese takeout, or that people go to, or what is there like a well-known, you know, restaurant or bar that's really super well-known in your area that people like will travel to, you know, talk to the owner, say have them put on video how great this place is. Like you could be footsteps from this place. But when you talk about them, this is where you sort of interchange traditional prospecting. You know, tell them, you know, hey, you know, you forward anyone my way, I will make sure, you know, that housewarming gift is definitely a gift certificate to the, you know, Mario's Pizzeria, or, you know, J Panda Express, whatever it is, you know. And so this is how you traditionally prospect. So when you go to the happy hours, when you go to different events, you know, talk to the museum curator if you're at a museum. Because here's the thing, guys, it's going to make it like you know everyone and everything. And you could have done 0 transactions ever in your life. And you're going to have all these videos of you talking to everyone, knowing everyone, just being seen around town. Go to the events, the big events in your you know, in and near your farm area for your county or your city or whatever it is. Take some video, post it on there. You are the you know, you guys are the oracles of your farm area, the kings and queens of your farm area. And again, you could have had 0. This is what's important. Whether you have 0 transactions or 150 transactions, it doesn't make a difference. So this content, you're going to have all this content, and then you're going to have your specific real estate content. So this is where it gets, sometimes I get a little cross-eyed. Look, maybe it's a good thing that everyone's a black box, but sometimes I get some googly eyes when I say you are going to take video of every listing in your farm area. Now, here's the catch. We all have access. I would assume everybody here has access to MLS. If everyone is a realtor, you are going to check MLS for, every MLS says it's slightly different, whether it be, you know, Stellar or Flex or Miami, whatever. There's something to the effect of any broker advertiser can broker or advertise. It's something to that effect, or third party advertise. And it's always just a yes or a no. So if it's a yes, you've got free reign. If it's a no, you don't. But if it's a no, you still can, if you get in writing. The lawyers here, pointing to the box. I don't know if she's next to you on my box, but I'm pointing to her. She's right here. You get in writing that it's authorized, because you can call that agent up and say, hey, I see that you have that the broker can advertise, but I wanted to go in there. I wanted to take some pictures and video of the unit, and I wanted to send some, you know, potential prospects because I farm this particular area. And if they say, yeah, no problem, get that in writing. That's not just a phone call. So follow up the phone call with writing, just, hey, just to confirm, you know, it's cool if I, you know, send out videos and photos of this listing. Yeah, no problem. And so now that no turns into a yes. But again, if you call them and they still say no, then fine, then ignore that. So if there's a dozen listings, for example, in your farm area, and 3 of them not only say no, but also they said no on the phone, then fine, skip those 3. You got 9 more that you can, trust me. I got enough exercises to keep, you know, to keep you busy, you know, day in, day out. So just only do those 9, go in there, take video. And you can also take your own photos. Well, again, even though video is the most important form, there's no hurt in photos too. Because you got to remember, the only media content that is available for that property, the only media content is on MLS. And you are going to actually be the only other provider of any other form of content for that particular property, which is kind of cool. We don't think of that. Like, we're like, what, how is that important? If you're a prospective buyer and there's 100 agents, let's just say, even though there's 1 million agents, there's 100 agents in this box. 100 agents use the exact same information. It's MLS. That's it. Well, in this case, it's going to be 99. All only have MLS information on that property. And then there's going to be you that actually can provide, you know, short videos here, there, because, you know, the MLS information is not always perfect. I mean, how many times have we gone in there? It's like, I remember going to a listing one time, the pool looked like it was 50 feet long. I'm not exaggerating, it was a 6-foot pool. Like, the angle that they took the photograph was the most cockamamie angle I've ever seen. And I was like, this is the biggest pool I've ever seen in someone's backyard. And I walk in there, I'm like, this was actually the smallest pool I've ever seen in someone's backyard. And but not just that. When you like when you start taking videos, because the descriptions aren't always great. It might say stone. Is it marble? Is it travertine? And say, oh, upgraded cabinets. Is that real wood? Is it Formica? So when you're actually going and you're showing close-ups and you're doing this and doing that, you can actually highlight things that the listing agent didn't even highlight themselves because, we can't be bothered. So that's why it's really important to get in there and actually make all this content. Now, what's really important is you cannot claim this listing to be yours. So never say, here is my listing. You can say, here is a listing in my farm area, but you cannot say, this is my listing. As a matter of fact, to play it safe, I like to tell people that when they do, not to get ahead of myself, the next step is what do you do with these videos? But you're going to put the videos on YouTube. So when you make, so specifically for the listings though, when you do put them on YouTube, in the description, probably not a terrible idea to put, courtesy of ABC Realty or whatever the brokerage is, probably at the very bottom, smallest you can possibly put, because that's all that happens with MLS, right? Like when you send an MLS listing, I was Erin Miller blasted everywhere, but then in tiny, tiny, tiny print, it'll say, courtesy of, Signature International Real Estate, and you can barely even see it, right? So we don't owe anything more than that, because that's the MLS themselves does that. So we don't know anything more than that. So again, just never say, but you don't even have to say that on the video. Don't say this video is from Polo Banker, this video is from Signature. Just in the description, just put courtesy, listing courtesy of whoever. So, but again, on the video, just don't say this is my listing. Just say this is a listing in my farm area at Tarpon River or Tequesta or whatever, wherever it might be. And so the one thing I cannot help you guys with is you guys have to figure out what it is that makes your farm area attractive. I can't tell you, I can give you basics, like talk to the principal. By the way, and it's not just public schools. If your area has private schools, you should also know what the private schools are, because you may have a decent public school, but people go to private schools or charter schools or whatever it is that makes your farm area attractive. Why did you move there? Why did your neighbors move there? And there's always, and I don't care what area you're in, even if you're not in a fancy area. Well, that's why sometimes people live in it. This is a good value area. This is bang for your buck. The next municipality over, it's an extra 25% for the exact same house in the exact, pretty much the same, like one neighborhood over. And so that can be a huge value add that you demonstrate to your viewers. So whatever it is, or you may be in the most beautiful neighborhood and you highlight, the marble roads that, sidewalks that align your beautiful, neighborhood. And so you have to just highlight what is attractive about your particular farm area. And that's what you're going to be highlighting. And look, I'm not saying to purposely omit stuff, but like if you're high school is rated an F, I mean, if you want to make a video, that's great. But if you want to skip that one, that's fine too. You want to emphasize what's good and de-emphasize what's not so good. And so that's why it's really important to make this content. And so the other thing is upfront, this takes work and takes effort. But here's the good news is once you've made your farm area video, and it might take a month, even a couple months, a few months to really create this content. But once you've done it, you don't really need to do it again, unless there's a new representative or new, the restaurant, there's a new hot restaurant or whatever, and the video works for you forever. And so I'll get to that in just a moment, which is why I said it kind of works for you 3 ways. And so we know how it works for you one way. It's the traditional prospecting way, right? Like you are now making networking and you now are creating, relationships like you would normally. And the second way is you're now going to have online exposure, right? So you're going to take that same networking and you're going to show the world this. The third one I'll show you in a minute, is that it works for you forever. And so it's even though this is working hard, it's also working smart, because the videos that you make aren't going to make you money and aren't going to make you business day one. Just like the traditional prospecting, unless that person, like he met you, unless he's immediately, oh yeah, I got someone for you. Like maybe if you stay on top of them, maybe you create that relationship, maybe that'll last. Maybe not. But that also creates more work for you to stay on top of that, right? This, you now set it and forget it. And it's beautiful because what you're going to do is you're going to take this content, which, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention when I talked about people a lot smarter than me. What is Instagram based off of? What's the main content in Instagram?
Photos, right? Photos and videos.
Videos. So it's more. Instagram has a lot of photos for sure, but video is the primary driving force of eyeballs for Instagram. And so, who owns Instagram? Facebook. Facebook owns Instagram. And so, because Facebook saw Instagram was, and by the way, that's when Facebook started becoming more video heavy. They bought Instagram, which was more video heavy than Facebook was at the time. And because they realized, shit, like we should have made an Instagram. Where they did mess up is they had an opportunity to buy TikTok. And so even though TikTok may not be a real estate juggernaut right now because it's been traditionally younger people, two things are happening. One, older people starting to join TikTok, and those younger people are getting older and they're getting to be the age of possibly, buying or at least renting. And so Facebook had an opportunity to actually buy TikTok and they did not. And now it's worth more than they could probably purchase it for. And TikTok is all videos. And so that should, again, people a lot smarter than me realize video is the absolute most important content there is. Question?
Eric, I have a couple practical questions. Okay, so a couple things about the platforms. You mentioned YouTube as a search engine. So would you also recycle the content or cut out the content that you put on YouTube, assuming it's maybe a longer form video, and then recycle that content on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, and that kind of thing?
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's actually okay. Exactly where I was going. That's actually exactly now where I'm going. This, I know it's going to be over 11 o'clock. So I mean, I don't know. I asked Kristen how much time I had. She said just take whatever time you need. So we started.
We'll keep going, but if folks need to leave, that's okay. Yeah. We'll keep going until we're through. Yeah.
So so what you just said, it was two things that I was going to mention. One I'm going to fast forward. So you mentioned a longer form video. And I think we've actually had this conversation in the past. When I used to teach this class a long time, like 10, 11 years ago, I used to tell people you can make 5-minute videos. You're attorneys. You have a slightly different demographic. Like you have very in-depth content. It's harder for you to make short form content. So you have a different platform. What I'm talking about, I used to say, oh yeah, I make 3, 4, 5-minute videos. Not anymore. The attention span of your average buyer, the attention span even of agents is pretty short. So I tell people, try to make videos. Like, sure, if you have a listing that's like a mansion, yeah, sure, you're not going to make that in 45 seconds. Of course not. But when you're interviewing people, under a minute, keep it under a minute. When you're doing properties, keep it under 2 minutes. If you can keep it to a minute and a half, that would be great. But if there's a condo, it's just a little box, make a 1-minute video of the condo. And then if you want to make a separate video of the amenities of that condo, that's fine. So, if that's in your farm area and you want to make an amenity video, then you say, hey, if you want to see what the amenities are like, here's another video for a minute for that particular thing. So at least it's breaking up their sort of the attention. Because if you just try to give them a 3-minute video of just a box, they're going to get lost. Okay. And so the attention span I've actually read into this, the attention span of humans has immensely shortened. It started with the advent of the internet, but now it's all this short form. It's a short form culture. I mean, you see these websites. These websites will tell you how long it takes to read the article. It's scary. It's like this will take 3.5 minutes to read this article, like because they know people aren't going to, like, oh, there's a bunch of words. We're going to skip. Like that's how bad it is. And so the same goes for video. Yeah. Video will captivate a little bit more. Video will automatically captivate for those first like 10 to 30 seconds. Like you no matter what, it's just your eyes, like you can't help it. But I would try to avoid any long form content for this stuff. Like if you're going to create a podcast, like a real estate podcast or something like that, sure, that's different. You're going to have like a live thing and you're going to be talking to people. Absolutely. But when you're making, these are kind of like highlight reels, you know, and so you can try to make them as in depth as possible. And so I don't want to get too much into the software about it, but anyone who has a Mac or has the most basic, like CapCut or anything like that, you can take clips. So you can be like, here's the entrance. That's 5 seconds. And then you walk in and be like, here's the foyer kitchen. Okay, stop. And then so you don't have to sit there and have all that dead time in between. And then you just stitch them together. So like if anyone who's going to use any the most basic editing software, I don't want to scare anyone. It's like adding attachments to an email. Like you open the software and you say, it'll say like upload videos. And you just upload them in the order you want them in. And then every software in some form or fashion has like a save or a preview or something, you know, where you can save the thing, but not save the entire movie. There's some sort of preview. And the preview will just show all the videos consecutively. Again, I purposely try to make this a low tech class. And then if you feel comfortable with it, then you just save to MP4 or save to whatever video tech file and whatever folder you have it in. And that's it. And you've now created the content. Obviously, so you don't have to, and that actually shortens videos a lot, especially like the home videos. And it cuts out a lot of the like fumbling in between like the hallway and the people feel like they have to fill dead space and stuff like that. And so it literally cut the videos sometimes in half. Instead of a 3-minute video, you can put it to like 90 seconds. And it's the exact same property, and you're really filming this exact same salient points of the property. And so you do that, and you have all these videos. And like I said, these interviews with people should be tops a minute, tops. I mean, if you're talking to the actual like mayor of the city, sure, maybe give them 90 seconds. But if you're just talking to like the president of your homeowners association, just a 45-second clip of what makes this community amazing is fine. Now you're going to take that content, you can take these MP4s that you made. So I always finish with that. Okay. So I used to always teach, do the videos this way, because the native aspect of YouTube is landscape. So what I tell people, for the people that are a little more technologically adept and are really big, let's say into TikTok or Instagram, I tell them, make a second video this way. There is software, there's free AI software where if you can keep things perfectly centered, you can actually turn it into a portrait video. I don't want to, again, I try to keep this class a little bit low tech. For the people who know about that, then just take the video sideways, keep everything centered, and then use the AI software to just turn it into a portrait mode. The reason why is because if you film it this way and only this way, and then you put it on YouTube, you're going to get the letterboxes on the side. And you don't want those big ass letterboxes because it ruins it for when you actually put it into, say, Facebook or a web page or whatnot. It's fine for Instagram or TikTok, but very often just make a second video, one this way, or if you know how to cut off the sides, then that's fine. Like I said, when I taught this class many years ago, it was just this way because YouTube ruled everything. And so this is the aspect ratio of YouTube. It's the 4:3, landscape mode. And so, no, actually it's not 4:3. 4:3 is the actual portrait mode. So, but now that you've created these videos, so you, whether either on your phone or you have put in CapCut or put in your Mac software, you have these videos and you put them in YouTube. And so when you make these videos on YouTube, you're going to name them, obviously, and you're going to put a description. So if it's a property video and you have a description, do not use the description that the agent used in MLS, unless you want them to come after you and hate you. Make your own description. Even if you wanted to, if you are the worst writer in the world, take their description and put it some AI feed, and Chat GPT, and have it rewritten. Do not use the exact same language. They will come after you. You will get in trouble. It's not $10,000 a pop. You just don't want that relationship. So you're going to take a new description as if it were your listing. Pretend it was your listing. How would you describe it? Put that as the description. The name, maybe put the address and put 4:3 to 4:8. Also in the video, this only applies to the property videos. Do not say things that'll change. Like, so don't say the price. Don't say it's $220,000 because the price might get lower. It's $200,000. A 4:3 is not going to change. 1,894 square feet, it's not going to change while it's listed. But but so you can say anything you want that's static, anything that's changeable, bonuses, prices, anything like that. Do not put in there. You can put it in the description because you can always go back. If that price changes, you can always go back into the YouTube description and change it. But you don't want to have to remake that video. You know. So also when you do these videos, you should have what I like to call an intro and an exit video. And so all your videos should have a video about, you know, like something cutesy, like I don't know if you want to create like a moniker for yourself, you know, like you know, like I'm just making this up, you know, out of thin air with it, you know, start here, you know, Tarpon River Eric here, you know, your local realtor for, you know, Tarpon River Silva Bend area. I want to, you know, thank you so much for, you know, watching, you know, for seeing my videos. If you're interested in listings, you know, please check out this video. Let me take you into this listing right now. And you can create like the same generic intro video for all of the property ones. You just reuse it over and over. So that would be the first video you put in. And then, you know, it could be something cute like, hey, you know, welcome to my property tour. I'd love to take you around. Let's go inside, you know, and then cut. And then the next video is of the property. And it's the same video. And if you want to make it, if you want to change them up every time, that's fine as well. But I'm just trying to make it a little easier for you. And then you have an exit slide that says, you know, thank you so much for visiting, you know, this beautiful listing. For more information, please contact me. And your intro and exit slides should always have your information. Whether you want to embed it into like overlay video, like where it just has your phone numbers and emails, or actually have a separate slide where it has your email and phone number and contact information. You always want to have that stuff. Super important on every single video. And so, like I said, take a few minutes to create a kind of a cutesy intro and outro slide, and you can create a separate intro video for all your generic farm area stuff, because it's not going to be like, hey, come inside, because that's obviously property specific. But hey, let me show you around the neighborhood, and that might be, you know, the intro for when you're talking to the museum people, the restaurant people, the park people, you know, the civic association people, all that kind of stuff. And so you can reuse that video over and over and over. And so you're going to put, all of this stuff is going to be on YouTube. And so I answered the long form, short form thing, but now we're going to talk about the cross referencing. And so this is what's really important. So now you have links to all of these videos on YouTube, because you put everything on YouTube. And I don't want to confuse people. If you want, you can directly upload into Facebook. You can directly upload into Instagram. You can directly upload, and you can. But just so that people aren't confused, you then take these links, and then you're going to put these links onto, hopefully most of you have a web page that is not only have a web page, but it's a web page where you can actually embed video in. So your website is going to have the video content. Your Facebook page is going to have the video content, the link, your Instagram page, your Pinterest page, your LinkedIn page. And by the way, you guys, I always tell people, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. If right now you have a website, you know, Facebook, and like one other, start with that. I'd rather you start with that than try to open up a couple of accounts that you don't use, and then you don't really post stuff, or you do occasionally post stuff, but you don't respond to people. Like, you're better off doing what you do well. Just keep doing that. This is where I know we're kind of running out of time a little bit. This is where I tie it all into where I started. And this is kind of where a lot of people have some difficulty, aside from getting out. The hardest part is doing the work. But let's say you've done all this. Assuming you're doing this with a farm area or any type of sphere of influence or you know, niche, my recommendation is that the platforms you are now putting all this amazing content on. So you now have content that nobody else has. You now have created a value add. You have now differentiated yourself from every other agent in your farm area. Nobody has this. My suggestion is that the platforms be dedicated to your farm area or your niche and not to you. Because everybody has a web, you know, I should say everybody has a website, but most people have a website dedicated to themselves, you know. And let's be real. This is where I make a little joke. You know, y'all got the photo. You know, you know, here's the thing. Anyone who knows you doesn't need to search for you. You need to be found by people who are searching for your farm area or your niche. And so if you dedicate your Facebook page, your Instagram. So this is sometimes an opportunity where sometimes people are like, I was thinking, I don't have Instagram. I was thinking about opening up an Instagram page. Fantastic. If you're actually take the time, do it. Dedicate it to your farm area. Dedicate it to your niche. Because when you actually start, when your Facebook is dedicated to your farm area, your website is dedicated to your farm area. And by the way, I'm not saying you can't have a bio by yourself, but the actual website, and then you buy domain names dedicated to those farm areas. And so the domain names, the websites, the Facebook, the Instagram, everything is dedicated to your farm area. You then post all your farm area information, and then you cross-reference every single one of those platforms to each other. Now you have some synergy that's you're automatically SEOing the crap out of your content and your platforms within your farm area. So when people start searching your farm area, and again, 98 to 99% of people start their search online, when they're searching their farm area, you are going to show up, which is another reason why I said it can't be too big. Is if you put Boca Raton, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do to have you show up. But if it's just New Floresta, a neighborhood in Boca Raton, yes, because now people haven't spent millions of dollars and tens of thousands of man hours optimizing just New Floresta. And you can do that. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars, you just spend the time and the video. And so what you do is you create all this content, and now you have the synergy, and now you have also the appearance that you know everything and everyone about your farm area. And so, newsflash, guys, it's not just buyers starting their searches online, it's sellers too. Because at the end of the day, when you're prospecting, you're probably prospecting harder for sellers in the farm area. And when they see that this is what I like to say, if someone finds you and they see all the content you made, and you say, wow, actually, Mr. Seller, just so you know, this is how you find me, this is how buyers would find me. Just so you know, all that stuff you saw, those listings you saw, those were not my listings. Imagine what I would do if I actually had your listing. And this is your competitive advantage. You use technology to leverage sales. And so Bob, the realtor who's done 180 transactions in there, you're never going to speak ill of him. Kind of like a doctor taking out an appendix. The old school doctor, you're not going to die. You know, I mean, you might be in the hospital overnight, out of work for 3 days, have a big scar, but you'll live. Or you can use leverage technology and outpatient, 30 minutes, no scar, job done, maximized. And so this is how you're going to compete with the experienced agents. And you create this leverage, and it's unbelievable. Think about every time you guys go online and see like people talking about video, they seem like experts. They seem like they know all this shit. They don't know shit. They just went out there one day and was like, I'm going to take video of stuff. And all of a sudden, you know, Dave Portnoy, like, he goes out, just videotapes him eating one bite of pizza. And he's one of those famous like video presence in the world. And he makes an insane amount of money doing this. And that was just him going around taking one bite of pizzerias. So, and now people think he's the most expert pizza connoisseur in the world. He's just a Joe like you or me, going out and he likes pizza. That's his credentials. But video gave him the pedestal of perceived knowledge and perceived omnipotence in that particular field. And so this is what you guys can do. And lastly, I talked about that it works for you forever. These video, unlike MLS, which when something gets closed, it goes away, right? Never to be seen again unless you start searching through the dumpsters of closed files. These videos are up forever. And so not only are they up forever, you can repost them. Like if that restaurant hasn't gone away and you haven't posted about it in a year, just repost the same video. So take that energy that you used a year earlier and repost, because people are going to forget that you posted about it a year earlier or even 6 months earlier. Like, wow, look at them. Or some people didn't notice it the first time around. And so this stuff works for you forever. We have agents that I usually, when I teach this for my class, I actually show a video. It's the worst video ever made. But I don't, just because I don't want to make it look like an advertising signature, I'm not going to show the video. It is the worst video ever. This is back from 2010. It is, I mean, it is awful. Also, oh, the one last thing I want to tell people, don't go like this. When you turn your entire body. That's the one recommendation I'm going to say. Turn your entire body. It's called panning. Pan. It's like that. That's the one recommendation. You are your own Spielberg. Just don't do this. Don't do this. It's a roller coaster.
Okay.
And so the entire video is like that. The blinds are gold plated. There's religious paraphernalia. Toilet seats are up. I mean, the place probably cost. This is also in the market crash. Probably cost $30,000. Here's the thing. That video was posted on YouTube. Nowhere else. Nowhere else. It has like 12,000 views. It was never boosted, never nothing. And the agent still gets calls on it from a 2010 video. Now, of course, that listing's not available, but I've got plenty other to show you. And so that video has been working for her for 13 and a half years. It was November of 2010. 13 and a half years, that video is still working for her. So that's why I say it's the third one, because not only are you doing traditional processing, and now are you taking that as an online presence, it works for you forever. It's like having a billboard on I-95 that you don't have to pay for. And it's actually focused on a specific group, because everybody can see that billboard. It doesn't apply to most people. The YouTube videos, someone had to have actually clicked on it for it to have gotten a view. It's not an accidental, like I just happened to drive by it. So 12,000 views. And so, and again, and here's the best part. Year one, she probably had, I don't know, 50. She gets more views now because that's how way videos work. Like, you know, it's not one begets two begets three. It's one begets two begets 3, 5, 9, 12, 13, you know, and so that's how the virality of the viewership is. So I impress upon you guys to, you know, use this as a tool for you guys to kind of be able to prospect, because I get questions. The number one question I get is, how do I generate business? And this is how you are going to be sort of the oracles and beacons of your farm areas. Now, I didn't have time to talk about the side missions, but that's sort of my main presentation. I will make a quick reference. So you can, when I mentioned you guys are the Spielbergs of your own videos, not only for production value, but it's also for content as well. So one of the side missions that I like telling people about, now you guys can kind of mull it over and think about it, is let's say, for example, you want to start targeting expireds, right? Like that's something that traditional prospecting, let's hit up expired listings. Well, what you're going to do is, like everyone else, you can do more than just pick up the phone call, you know, at 7 in the morning, you know, or don't call them at 12:01 a.m. But, you know, they start getting calls at 7, 8, 9 in the morning. I see your listing expired, but you can do more than that. You can create a traditional way of a step up would be like creating a packet and literally sending it to them, right? But you can also target people in, so in Facebook, you can target people and you can create videos that are specific to like, hey, did you recently have an expired listing? Did your agent, you know, do X, Y, Z or not do this or that? Or do you want to have it? We have a relisting, you know, strategy for those who have expired listings and want to be able to put it back on the market and resell it very quickly. And then you create strategies for that. You know, maybe send out appraisers ahead of time. Maybe talk to lenders ahead of time. With the rates being high, maybe tell the sellers you should offer, you know, credits for, you know, interest rate buy downs, and have all these strategies already ready, and then send these videos to those sellers, because everyone's getting the call, but you're then going to send them the content that you've had in general for your farm area and then specific to them. And so that's an example of what I call a side mission or targeted, you know, audience. So the world is your oyster with these videos. I'd like to say it's the future, but it was the future 10 years ago. You know, it is the present. It's just agents aren't doing it. So
maximizing it. Well, Eric, one of the things that you, thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge today, and also giving us some ideas of sort of how to go about creating this content. Because one of the questions I was going to ask is like, where do I start? What do I even talk about? And so some of the things that you mentioned are things that you're going to be doing any ways to become familiar with the area that you're hoping to farm, right? You're going to visit the shops, you're going to visit the restaurants, you're going to, you know, do some research about developments in the community. And so why not use that as the mechanism? So as you're learning, you're also sharing that knowledge. And the folks who are seeing it on the internet don't know that you just recently learned this piece of information. They're actually just going to be receiving the information as if you're the expert, which I think is fantastic. And also, if you are going to a networking event, right, and then going to a networking event where you meet a few people and then maybe you don't follow up, and if you don't post about it, did it even happen? And I will say that I will admit, yeah, if I sometimes struggle with what to talk about, but also making sure you're staying top of mind after you do the event. And I hadn't considered posting about someone else's listing, but I guess that is the best way, even if, especially if you're starting out, the best way to show all the properties in this particular area with permission, of course. So that is fantastic. Thank you so much. If folks have questions, can they reach out to you?
Absolutely, of course.
Okay, cool, perfect.
You have my info and you have my
I'm sure I can track you down. Yes. Thank you guys so much for joining us today for our episode of Get Closed, Get Paid. All of our replays will be available on YouTube in perpetuity, I've learned today. Thank you so much for joining us. And we will be back next month with an update on the buyer broker agreements and the NAR lawsuits. And hopefully we'll have some forms to share and review with you in our next session. So thanks so much. You guys have a great day. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.